Daniel Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on the 2022 Orange Bowl matchup between the Tennessee Vols and the Clemson Tigers. Both teams have had outstanding seasons getting to this point. You got Tennessee, who truly was a national contender this season. They just took a couple of brutal losses down the stretch, which kept them from getting to the college football playoff. But they're still in a New Year's Six bowl game. They're in the Orange Bowl to take on Clemson. The Tigers just won the ACC championship, and there's some optimism around Clemson now. You got the new starting quarterback, the young starting quarterback, Cade Klubnik. He'll be playing in this game on a high stage against Tennessee. This should make for a great matchup. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this match here today, starting with your team trends. Tennessee beat Vanderbilt to finish out the regular season. 56-0 was the final score. That was the first real game without Hendon Hooker. Unfortunately, Hooker got injured in that South Carolina game, and he's out for the rest of the season. Which is, it's not only unfortunate for Tennessee and Tennessee fans, but, for the entire country just because of how fun he was to watch this season. But you got Joe Milton in as the starting quarterback now, and I still think Joe Milton is able to lead this team to a huge win here. We saw him in that Vanderbilt game, and this offense looked just fine. They're 10-2 to finish out the regular season, ranked 6th in the country. Once again, even though this team lost to Georgia in early November, they were still in contention for the college football playoff, but that South Carolina loss really was the nail in the coffin for Tennessee. But for Clemson, beat North Carolina 39-10, the most impressive win of the season for Clemson there for sure. They took down the Tar Heels there, won the ACC championship once again, and they're ranked 7th in the country heading into this match. Clemson is really, this is a team that took a couple of brutal losses down the stretch, lost to Notre Dame, also lost to South Carolina. Both teams have got that in common. Both teams lost to South Carolina late in the season. But Clemson still, in that game against North Carolina, they looked good with Cade Klubnik starting. And DJ Uiagalelei, he's already in the transfer portal. He's already left. So that was a little bit surprising seeing that. But obviously you got Klubnik, who is bringing some optimism and some potential to this team. Definitely heading into this matchup. Yeah, Clemson 11-2 on the season. Been a great season for them as well, even though Clemson did have some higher expectations heading into this season. Many were saying Clemson was going to return to the college football playoff, but once they lost to Notre Dame, their chances were really slashed there after that loss, losing to Notre Dame on the road. Games to be on Friday, December 30th in Miami Gardens, Florida. Your kickoff is 8 p.m. Eastern. Spread's going with Clemson here by 6. So the Tigers are favored here by a decent amount. Your over-under is 63.5, and the FPI is going with Tennessee, 57.4%. So despite the spread going with Clemson here, the FPI is going on the Vols side here, 57%. Series history, Tennessee leads 11-6. Clemson won the last game. That was back in 2004. So we've actually seen these two teams play each other a decent amount in history, considering they're in different conferences, but it has been since 2004 when we last saw these two teams play each other. Stat comparison for this one, Tennessee is the top team in the country in points per game. They are an outstanding team on offense. That's how it's been all season. They average 47 points a game. This is a Tennessee team that is in the SEC, a conference that is filled with strong defenses, and Tennessee's out here scoring 47 points a game. It's extremely impressive what they've done. They are 38th in points allowed, allowing an average of 24 points a game. 9th in passers a game, 16th in rush yards, and then for yards allowed, 125th in passing. That's the one main weak spot of the Vols, you could say, is in the pass defense, and they're 21st in rush yards allowed, so a strong rush defense otherwise. But as for Clemson, they are 20th in points per game, 17th in points allowed, 69th in passers a game, 40th in rush yards, and for yards allowed, they are 66th in passing, 8th in rushing. So this is a team that is strong in the rush defense. They have allowed a decent amount of pass yards a game, but not quite on the level of Tennessee. And then, this is a Clemson team that is usually pretty strong on defense. That's how it was last year as well, as just the offense that kind of had issues. The offense, I would say, has been better this season. They're allowing 20 points a game versus getting 35 or so. So this offense has been better. It's just the defense has been a bit inconsistent down the stretch. They allowed 35 to Notre Dame. That was a tough time to allow the touchdowns like they did. They ended up getting beat up in that game to Notre Dame. They allowed 31 then to South Carolina. And the offense scored 30. It was close. But nonetheless, the defense is still great for Clemson. It's just been a bit inconsistent down the stretch. But I will say this, though, for Tennessee. I mean, they are the top team in the country in points per game, but this team is looking a bit different right now. Hendon Hooker is out for the rest of the season, unfortunately, due to his injury, which is, it just sucks for not only Tennessee and Tennessee fans, but the entire nation, once again, just because of how talented he is and how fun he is to watch. But Tennessee also doesn't have Jalen Hyatt, the top receiver on this team. He is declared for the NFL draft. He received over 1,200 yards this season and 15 touchdowns. Brutal loss there. I mean, it's one thing if you've got Joe Milton and he still has his top receiver in Jalen Hyatt, but he doesn't. So that's definitely going to be a key factor in this one. Recent matchups: Tennessee beat Vanderbilt 56-0, lost to South Carolina 38-63. That one was brutal loss there. I mean, South Carolina being a team that you usually, I mean, especially considering how inconsistent they were all season, that's a game that you just cannot lose, especially if you want to remain in contention for the college football playoff, which they very much were a contender at that point in the season. But they beat Missouri the week before 66-24, lost to Georgia 13-27, beat Kentucky 44-6. That game was extremely impressive. Do not underestimate the significance of that win. I mean, you're coming off that Alabama win. The next week you play Kentucky. You beat them 44-6. Kentucky is not a bad football team, and Tennessee just blew the doors off of them. But for Clemson, beat North Carolina 39-10. Really impressive win. I definitely would consider that to be the best win of the season for Clemson. They lost South Carolina by 1, beat Miami 40-10, beat Louisville 31-16, and then that other loss to Notre Dame 14-35. So Clemson, they've shown potential down the stretch. They've just been a bit inconsistent, and the way they play against North Carolina with Klubnik, I mean, Clemson, I feel like, is really capable of doing great things right now. Your key points: Tennessee 10-2. Joe Milton is in as the starting quarterback. And I'll say this, I mean, if I remember right, Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton both came in during the same offseason. They were both transfer quarterbacks. Joe Milton was from Michigan. Hendon Hooker was from Virginia Tech. Both quarterbacks were kind of mediocre at their respective schools. And so in transferring to Tennessee, both quarterbacks really didn't have high expectations. But we've seen what Hendon Hooker's done, and now it's Joe Milton's turn. And I wouldn't be surprised one bit if we saw Joe Milton do something similar to what Hendon Hooker did this season. So the future is bright, I think, for Tennessee. And Joe Milton, so far what we've seen out of him has been extremely impressive. So he is a guy to keep an eye on. But yeah, for Tennessee, it doesn't help not having Jalen Hyatt. I mean, this team still has got some good depth in the receiving core, but not having him around is going to be tough. Yeah, but offensively, nonetheless, this team is brutal to stop. Defensively, they've been generally a strong team. They've allowed 24 points a game, which is not bad at all in the SEC. So, I mean, this team has been, they've been impressive down the stretch. It's just that South Carolina game, allowing 63 points. You just can't have it. And that was just a bad night for Tennessee, that's for sure. But for Clemson, coming off their most impressive win, no doubt, in that North Carolina win, winning that one 39-10. DJ Uiagalelei is gone. He is already in the transfer portal. That's how it is nowadays. But yeah, Klubnik is the future of the Tigers, and that's something that Clemson fans can definitely look forward to. And the defense has been the primary strength of the Tigers this season. The offense has been a bit inconsistent, but the offense is on the rise. It has improved, I would say, definitely since last season. And so things are looking up for Clemson heading into this matchup. But that said, let's get to the prediction here for Tennessee and Clemson coming up here in the Orange Bowl. This one is going to be an outstanding matchup, and it's tough to predict. Could go either way, but I'm going with Clemson here. 38-34 is my predicted final score. I'm going with the Tigers. I do think Tennessee covers and makes this a game. This honestly it's got potential to be the best game of bowl season. I mean, with both sides, I really think it's going to be a competitive one, and it could be a higher scoring one as well. I've got this being a minor shootout, with Clemson winning it in the end 38-34. I think Tennessee puts up a fight here. I know that there's no Hendon Hooker, there's no Jalen Hyatt, but this team with Joe Milton, I think they put up a fight and really make this game a competitive one. I'm going to say Clemson 55% though. The over-under 63.5. I'm taking the over for this one. I think this is going to be more of a higher scoring game, and I got Tennessee covering the spread in the end. But I will say this about Tennessee. If they had Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt in this matchup, more than likely I'd be picking Tennessee by a touchdown or so. It's just not having them is unfortunate because of the significance that both players have had on this team this season. But In the end, I think Tennessee keeps it close, and it's going to be a close one, but Clemson gets the win 38-34. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup, and I appreciate you guys watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.